ma'am. God bless. I am Leia Luzon from Business Administration Department. So for this video, I am going to discuss about Saint Thomas Aquinas of natural law. So let's start. Who is Saint Thomas Aquinas? Saint Thomas Aquinas was born in 1225 in Roccasecca, Italy. That's why Saint Thomas is an Italian Catholic priest who belonged to the religious order of preachers or Dominicans. And he was born to an affluent and influential family because his father was recognized as the Count of Aquino. That's why Aquinas was from a rich and powerful noble family. His early studies were tutelage of the Benedictine abbot of Monte Cassino. But at the age of 14, he enrolled at the University of Naples. Because Saint Thomas Aquinas was deeply impressed by the Dominicans whom he later met at this university, that Thomas decided to join the order of preachers at the age of 19 in 1224, instead of the Benedictines who were his first teachers. Thomas in 1248 studied with Albert the Great in 1205 to 1280 in Cologne, because after the struggle with his family, who did not agree with his being a priest, was finally settled, Thomas in 1248 with Albert the Great 1205 to 1280 in Cologne. Thomas died on March 7, 1274, leaving behind him notable works like Summa contra Gentiles, Summa Theologiae, and last is De Veritate. Because the Catholic Church honors him as a doctor as title given to saints who are recognized as given of particularly important insight in the understanding of Christian doctrine or faith. Our present age is not impervious of absurdity, frustration, and near desperation. However, is graceful replete with people who have exerted effort in pointing out a variable way of such darkness and confusion. Assiduous non-derator, Thomas Aquinas begins from the standpoint of faith that his perspective proposes that existence of God, who is the author, source, and the goal end of a reality. This creation for Thomas relates in freedom to recognize true reason, the very principle of foundation of all things. In accordance with the foundational knowledge, the human person can choose to act in such a way that is worthy of one's very reality. One who can reach the wisdom at the very heart of all things is obligated to act in accordance with his or her dignity. The human being then is said to be gifted with the ability to know the highest good, that engage him or her in freedom in choosing to let on the good that he or she ought to do. Freedom here is knowing the best and being able to reach for it through decisive action. This is expressed eternity that is in the very heart of every human person as dictate of doing good and avoiding evil. For Aquinas, God revealed his good will as the eternal law reflected in the order of reality, relating with the law as governing all relating with God himself, whose will emanate to govern all that. The reality theme of life as growth, nutrition, of reproduction is founded on the will that is eternal. Even the reality of sensitive conscience as ruled by instinct that is true of animals is also so in accordance with the same will. Plants persist to carry themselves out the fullness of being plant is an imprint of the governing will that comes to human understanding as law. That animals governed by instinct behave in such a way is also recognized by the human person is following in the tale of law that guide all of creation. This ethical of natural law has gained wide acceptance at one point in the history of Western civilization. That it has come to expose even if one presents from the faith system that has engendered. So it is an expression that highlights the validity of this ethical system with or without faith in the Creator of God, and implies that the wisdom of the ethical system that is natural law is valid and bending from the human person even if we bracket belief in God. Conscience and natural law. It is the proper functioning of a reason in moving the human person toward an end goal that is fitting of his or her dignity. The ability of man to know is important in his or her acting ethically. Hence, if one follows Saint Thomas' discussion on conscience, one is inclined to conclude that it is the proper functioning of reason in moving the human person toward an end goal that is fitting of his or her dignity. One cannot to do the right thing is one does not know what it is. Conscience absolutely bends us in doing the good and avoiding evil. Conscience as reason is also absolutely tasked to be given formation. The conscience I can be mistaken, and being so does not exempt the human person from culpability. If he or she is able to know but fails to act in his or her obligation to do so, then he or she not free from blame and responsibility for what was done. The relational perfection of love in Aquinas. Domestic ethics is incomplete if it does not end with the love that is directed towards God. Although we have suspended God tax to make case that natural law is relevant even for the human person, without faith, the discussion of domestic ethics is incomplete if does not end with the love that is directed towards God. Three contemporary questions. The natural law interrogates the identity of the human person because the question, who am I, is endowed with his or her own facility, history, and ability, or her or his present reality is accessible to him or her through self-knowledge and reflection. Well, the question number 2 is the defining the self gives one a chance to clarify his or her goal. Hence, and the last question is how can I get there? It is utilized that sounds judgment of human reason and evaluates the best road to get the goal decides upon. So, and furthermore, the self is not only a passive receipt of what transpires internally. Once design the paths of cooperate with the situation to reach the ends that has been reasonably set by the self. So, before the end of this video, I just want to conclude that Thomas Aquinas was influential in his articulation of the theory of natural law. He showed that the universe was determined by an order of love that ought to define the sense of the good of human being. Whether one believe in transcendence, loving God, or not, be shown how people and says an order to think that was inherent to all being that existed. Thank you for listening, and that's all.